Can you hear me? The last 7 years, I have been fortunate enough to have been worked with many startups and many companies. Over and over again, working in new ideas, I always believed this idea is the one. And this idea is going to change the world. My journey, it started in my college days. I was in my college canteen just thinking about what I'm eating. Like, this is fried rice. I looked to my left, I looked to my right, like everyone eats fried rice. I was like, okay, like we're obsessed with rice here. And then what I think is like, okay, like I need to sell rice to my office, like to my canteen in my college. And I start a venture, the first one in my college. And now I want to sell rice to canteen and to nearby shops. But over the time, I think of starting something else now. As being me, Rohit, I see this 32 really good people in my class. What I think is okay. These are the team members I would want to work with for the rest of my life. Now again, I start something really good. I think of like we have 32 people studying engineering. We can start a magazine. We can start this newspaper magazine, and we come up with this idea to sell magazine in a college. I talk to all of my team members and I say, okay, this is the one. We all have to look over it. I go back home, I talk to my parents and I'm like so sure about it. I want to do it. I ask for a few contacts so I can print these magazine in college. And I go to this uncle and say, like, uncle, like I want to start this business. I think this is gonna be the one. This I'm gonna stick with till my life. And he says, usually we get 5 or 6 such people who come to us every year thinking about doing this over and over again, but they never come back. I said, no, we are different. And guess what? They never came back. By the end of my college, by end year, I thought of it that I need to do something serious now. Like my college is ending, I need to establish something. And then I come with this idea that we already had like 15 hours of load setting, 18 hours of load setting back then. So I wanted to start this solar company. And with this solar company, what I thought was this is the one. So this solar company is going to make me reach all the heights I want to reach. This solar company is the idea that clicked. Carrying this on, like I was super lucky that the first year of this company, we did really good sales. We were like doing back to back sales, getting this contract, these tenders, and money started flowing in. Finally, I get a glimpse of money. But the thing was, I couldn't manage it. And over the time, by next year, I started something else. I jumped into, all of a sudden, into goat farming. And with goat farming, again, because we want to pour in innovation, I think of it as we want to do it online. Now, pouring in innovation in something else, I'm doing this solar business without being settled with solar. I start another venture which sells goat all of a sudden. And being in this venture, now I realize it's not easy. Calculations work in any other businesses, but in agriculture, I cannot calculate it. The same goat can be like 15 kilos in 9 months, other goat can be like 25 kilos. How does the calculation work? Now it's going to be so difficult for me. Already screwing up with all the ventures that I have, adding up new ventures, and then the venture that I had, solar company, all of a sudden, Kulman happened, and the load setting just vanished. So with now solar not working, I don't have this cash flow. Then again, I come up with something else. I think of a pollution is a problem. What I think while going to office, like so much pollution in Kathmandu, like how do people live? This must be a problem. I need to do something else. Then I come up with this brilliant idea. Let's manufacture air purifiers in Nepal. I talk to my few friends again, as usual. I come up with this idea that we need to sell air purifiers, a perfect product. Now this is definitely going to work. and boom, I have a prototype ready. I do a presentation to NAS in front of a health minister. I'm so pumped up. I think this is the one. But then again, I never knew that people don't really care having an air purifier in their homes. So again, a failure. But with all of this, whatever I did for all of these years, while I was in college or out of college, with solar or selling rice, I learned something. And I learned bit by bit. It was a painful process. And finally, I started a venture called Food Mario. With Food Mario, now I really believe, like any other company I started, this is the company that's going to change the world. And this has a potential to disrupt food industry forever. But while this 7 years of journey, I always had this question in my mind. What does it take to build a loved venture? What does it take to build this amazing, brilliant company that can scale? I'm sure many of you always have this question. Is this the idea? Is it the idea that's so brilliant, that's gonna scale up so fast, so quick? Or is this something else? Is this the team, a crazy team, a hardworking team that works from morning 6 to 11 at 9, like they're spending their 18 hours at office? It's a crazy team, crazy environment. Is this what plays at work? Because I already had 32 engineers working for that magazine. Or is it the investment? Is it the investment that we need? Because all of a sudden, like always with all of the ventures, we think we need investment. Like all of a sudden, we have to rotate down to everything else and we come down to this. We need investment to start. We need investment to scale. But I know these all things are important. All of these things are important. Idea is important. You need a great team. You need investment to scale. But I think there is something else that comes to play by building a brand, by building a love brand. And I believe that's the community. A trust. It's a very different process. It's not a technology that you're building. It's a very different thing. While building a community is going to be a very slow process. You start with 5 people. You start a company, you connect to 5 people. Now these 5 people are going to be connected to next 10 people. Now you have 15 people in your team. Customers maybe. Now you have 50 people who know about you. You slowly try to build a community around your startup. I'm not talking about the ecosystem of the community that we have. It's the community that you build around your startup. And it's a process that's going to take time. It's going to take months and months to build up. At a point of time, you're going to realize it's going to take you a year and a half to build a big enough community that you can rely on. But this trust is very essential. Where do we use this all community at? This is a very important question because you have the right idea, you have the right team, you have the right investment, but then you need right execution. You need to know what works, what doesn't work. But then again, you don't want to mess up with any other customer. You want to rather work with the customers that you had from the beginning, the community that you built, the people who really believed in you. And this is when it's about building trust. You slowly build trust with the community that you have created. And with this community, now you start creating this feedback loop that finally works out well, so your product looks better. Now your product is refined through this community. And finally, these are the people who believed in you from the early stage. These are the people who really believed in your idea. They have been with you from the first week, from the first month, or the first 6 months from you. And these people are going to spread words out. And finally, your brand grows. Over the time in last 7 years, with so many startups that I've worked with, so many businesses that I've worked with, and with Food Mario, I've come to believe that if you start your startup like a community, you're gonna grow 3 times more with half of the investment. And it's gonna be a painful process. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So next time, when you think of starting a company, or you already have a company, think of it as a community. Think of it as you're building this step by step, taking the feedback, building this trust around your startup. Thank you so much.